I can try plugging it back in again. See if it somehow got.
Can you get underneath there to do it? Or you gonna need to go around? Pete, over there.
I can go under.
Okay.
Just in case it got wiggled.
That wiggled.
Wiggle it out.
I haven't read her email. What's up? Oh, gosh, that sounds very good.
Those technical people, I tell you. Nothing.
No, I think I would probably have
Did you reboot?
to do a reboot.
Boy, that's a bunch of crud. You gotta always tap it. Always tap. Can you take that camera?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll
and then
turn
we'll
this.
flip that around. There's, look at, go up. Go back a little bit farther. Can you see over here?
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to February.
How's that?
Do you want me to move at all or no?
No, you're good. We're gonna leave you there, and we'll keep Laura as she won't have a camera. So, which one do I go to? There you go. That's the one, right?
Yep.
Okay, now I'll put the logos back on. All right. And we should get started, huh? It's kind of nice.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Technology. Love technology. Hate email, but I love technology.
A lot of USBs that aren't plugged in. I'm wondering if that also has something to do with it. But
Oh man, it'll drive you crazy in here.
I was surprised he went to just a regular old.
Here she comes.
Hello.
Hello.
Laura Stanfield. Say hello to Pete.
Hi.
Pete,
My
City
hand's cold.
Assessor. Oh, no problem.
Apologize.
Krystowiak.
Krystowiak.
Oh, wow.
Krystowiak. I know.
That takes
I can
some
barely
practice,
say
huh?
Baker, right? So, oh my God. She's a mortgage broker, mortgage banker.
Banker. Yeah.
so
Don't call
told
me a
that every
broker.
time. I know.
I don't like
You have no camera, by the way. I know it's gonna kill
That's
you.
too bad.
It's not working.
It's okay. Technology.
I know, right? All right, here we go.
Bill Baker here, host of the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show, found right here on 103.5
Still out of ink?
FM, The Sun.
Still out of ink?
Wednesday
Still running out of ink?
Hey, when I'm not on the radio,
like
I'm working
having a
with
gas
folks
can.
just like you to help them buy and sell homes. I'm proud to say that my team, the Baker Realty Group, has been helping people buy and sell homes in the greater Sun Prairie area for over 10 years. Information about buying and selling a home is available on my website, thebakerrealtygroup.com, on Facebook by searching the Baker Realty Group, or by calling 608-575-6731. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show with
You okay? Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hump Day. We made it. Yep, it's Wednesday, and we have got an exciting show for you today. You're listening to the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show right here on 103.5 WLSP, The Sun, underwritten by those wonderful folks at the Bank of Sun Prairie, the Baker Realty Group, and, of course, Wintrust Mortgage. We have a subject, and we're going to get to in a few minutes. We'll give him a warm-up on this and get him ready. But who we have in the studio is the world's greatest city assessor. I'm going to mess up his name, but that's okay. It's Pete Krystowiak.
Correct.
Wow, I'm pretty good.
Good job.
I did a pretty good job on that. All right, I'm just going to call you Pete now. It's just Pete.
Works for me.
Much
You
simpler,
have to pull
huh?
that to you also, Pete. And you can grab it and just up top. There you go. Pull it this way. There you go. It's okay. Those things work. But before we get to that, let's get a little bit of a setup here. We're 8 years. We're into this for 8 years, which blows me away. And when Laura and I set this show up, what we decided to do was to have a show that educates and informs you as the public on the process of buying, selling, or investing in real estate. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. And today is very much like that, because we're going to learn a great deal about the process that Pete follows in reassessing our properties in Sun Prairie. And that's what's happening right now, is the reassessment process is starting, or has started. It doesn't stop, by the way, but the overall reassessment is happening. And so you're going to learn more about the assessor's position, role, process than you probably ever imagined. But before we do that, let's talk about this. This show would not be what it is if we didn't have the world's greatest mortgage banker, soccer mom extraordinaire, Miss Laura Stanfield from Wintrust Mortgage.
Well, that's a new addition. You don't usually say soccer mom,
Well, you are a soccer mom, though.
I guess.
I know.
Whatever that means.
Well, you got rid of the van, though. You don't have a van. You got
Never had a van.
You got a Denali. No, yeah, Denali.
Mhm.
Yeah, she upgraded.
I never had a van.
You're a yeah, didn't you?
Never.
I swear you
Never.
did. Oh
no,
my gosh.
No.
I
I had a Trailblazer. I went from a car to a Trailblazer, and now an Acadia.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
Not a van.
No. Okay. All right, just checking.
Anyway.
Hey, what in the world happened with rates this week? Didn't they jump 5 basis points?
They jumped, and then today they're
Dropped.
starting to
They're dumped.
trickle back a little bit. There was some commentary from banks around the world, actually, that sent our markets into a spin on Monday.
Did it have anything to do with balloons? Traversing is the word that was used across the United States. I swear that balloon was looking in our bedroom. I know it was. It was over
Probably
Sun
was.
Prairie.
Probably was, yes. That's a whole nother story.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, yeah, it's starting to come back down a little bit again. So prediction is still that we're going to see rates come down.
Okay.
Inflation is taming a little bit. The Fed still increased the interest rate, the federal funds rate, by a little bit, 0.25%.
And that's what you said was going to happen, by the way.
Well,
You
I
were
don't
right,
have a
I was
crystal
wrong.
ball. I don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah, but I was wrong.
Oh my, did you just say you were wrong?
I did. I admit it.
What?
I know.
Did you all hear that?
I know. Write it
Wow.
down. Write it down. Write it down. You should pull that to you so
Oh,
people
my
can hear.
goodness.
Pull that microphone.
They can
How long
hear
have you been
me.
doing this?
They can
Couple
hear me
weeks?
just fine.
No, you can't.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
See, he
Excellent.
can hear me. It's fine.
Hey,
it's
you're
just
supposed
you.
to be on my side.
No, it's just you.
I had
Anyway.
the button push earlier, so you should be on my side.
He's a figurative and literal button pusher. Anyway, yeah. So
Any exciting news? Something jump out at you this week? Or last week since we were here?
no, I mean it's
Any incredible stories, success stories that you want to share? I don't know. You're looking at me. Don't look at me.
Is
Don't
this a
look at me
leading
like that.
question
No,
or
I'm just
okay?
curious.
I'm like, am I not remembering
Well, you know,
something that
sometimes we
happened?
have these transactions that have come out of nowhere, and the ones that are a challenge, all of a sudden, like boom. I mean, we have one together where we didn't think that at the current price and interest rate, our buyer would be able to do it alone, and she did.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because you talked to her and said, "While we're looking for houses, pay down your debt, and she did. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Thank God she wasn't my. I'd like to have her as one of my kids, you know.
You can only do so much, though, right? I can think of another situation where I said pay down your debt and increase your credit score, and then pay changed, like the way they're paid changed, and it changed the whole scenario. So when I say don't change anything other than like what we talk about, credit changes, positive credit changes are good, but sometimes
Yeah.
people make changes and it's like, man, okay, I can't get past that now.
Right.
Now you're gonna have to wait.
I know. They don't. Sometimes they just don't listen.
They don't.
We know the secrets, right? It's like I used to tell Alex on the game Medal of Honor. I loved that game Medal of Honor when it first started, and I can't use joysticks. I have to use the keyboard. which made me vulnerable.
You grew up with joysticks.
No.
Well, you did.
No, I had
Pong and Atari, and
no.
you didn't grow up with that.
No.
Come on.
Yeah, Nintendo, man, come on. Remember Atari? Say
Oh,
what?
I'm a joystick guy.
Oh, yeah,
See?
Man,
We all
I'm crazy
grew up
that.
with those. They didn't have these things
Yeah, we had
before. It was the joystick.
Nintendo. I was a Nintendo guy.
Before that was the joystick, though, was it not?
Oh, yeah.
Get that music
Yeah.
going. Anybody?
Yes.
All you have to do is go do 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 do.
Wah wah.
I know.
That's Pac-Man.
So what are you hearing out in the market with the other realtors you're working with? Are they busy? Are they?
Overall, it's slow. There's a lot of buyers out there.
There you go.
But they're not the properties. So the open houses are busy because there's so many buyers that are interested, but not near the number of properties that we need for the buyers to buy.
Exactly.
So,
In
yeah.
fact, let's talk about that for a second. Right now, in the City of Sun, if you go to our friends at Zillow or Realtor.com or any other aggregator out there, it's going to show 31 homes for sale. It's not true, as I like to say. It's actually, there's only 20 homes for sale, but of the 20 that are listed on the multiple listing site as active, there are really 10 homes that exist. The other 11 are ghost listings. They are new construction that have not been built. They may be in the process of being built, but they are not available. You can't buy them today.
And most are Lennar.
Yeah. Yes, they are. How'd you know that?
Well, I'm
Oh, you're looking at
barely
the sheet I gave
reading
you.
your sheet.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's out of ink.
You
I
know-
can kind of see it.
All I have to do is go to Amazon and say, I could go to Alexa and say, Alexa, order me new toner.
I know, but you said this a week or two ago.
I know,
What
but
are you
same thing with
waiting for?
gas, when you're in your car, gas. You gotta
You
get
don't
it all the
really
way
have
down.
a choice with that.
Go to
Oh,
fumes,
yeah.
man. Go to
You're one of
fumes.
those, huh?
Well,
I kind of am too,
I
actually.
flirt with the devil, I tell you. So of all the homes that are on the market right now, this is funny, I was sharing this with the mayor on Monday night, and with Jimmy Kaufman, and saying that our average list price, and it's gone up a little bit since then, is $530,458. Average in the City of Sun Prairie. The lowest priced property right now is at $329,000. That's Wilson Street.
Wait,
and-
what's St. Albert at 309?
Yeah, but look at Wilson, and look at the square footage price. And Pete will be blown away by this too. Little 1,000 square foot home, 297, a little over 1,000 square foot, $296 a square foot, built in 1923.
Holy cow.
Run over there and do their assessment for them, will you? And we see this. What we do is we like to break down the pricing and even into square footage and that. And a lot of realtors do not do that. I'm also licensed in Michigan, where everything is led by square footage, and so it's kind of interesting. But to have a home built in 1923 and to be at a price per square foot that's higher than new construction, there's something going on there. That's a wish list, I think. Oh, by the way, their assessment is $155. I know. Look, he's chopping it a bit over there. Look at his chops. He's seen an
You
increase.
think this is overpriced?
Of course it's overpriced. Of course it's overpriced.
Good Lord. I'll bet you this open house is going to be flooded with people.
Yeah, that's true.
There's really, it's just like a little box.
Right.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
since we have our city assessor, and I went back, just did a really quick check on this. We ended City of Sun Prairie for the year, for 2022, our pricing was up 12%. City, and we averaged 403. In January, we went up 11% to 470 compared to the previous January.
In terms of average sale price?
Average sale price. And these numbers are way ahead of national numbers and everything. And I think they're going to flip soon. Not flip drastically, but they're going to reduce a little bit. But so, yeah, there we have it. That's
It'd be interesting to see what that sells for.
Yeah, I know. I'm
If it
watching
appraises
it.
out.
I have it on a watch list, so I'll tell you
Okay.
that. Now, this gentleman that's sitting across from us, I have to tell you, he's a nice guy. He's not, normally, what is a city assessor? When a city
Don't be
assessor
mad
comes
at him, he's
walking down
nice.
the street, people go to the other side of the street. Or if he calls to get a new assessment, I'm busy, I'm washing my hair. They're not going to let you come in. And we need to, and I'm having a little fun with him because I feel like he can handle this.
I think he knows.
Yeah.
25 plus years in municipal assessing, I can handle this.
Uh-huh,
You
he's
can
heard
handle
it.
this, huh?
Yep.
I love that. But here's the thing that we need to know, folks, is that this city operates based upon assessment. And I'm going to let you know this too, that your assessment is only as good as the person doing it and you as the person providing the information and the dialogue. Now, is it a perfect process? No, it's not, and we've proven that. But there is opportunities for conversation. And so when this gentleman calls, or someone from his staff calls, you have a big staff, right?
3 individuals, 3 appraisers on staff.
3 appraisers. It's a big staff for a town our size. When they call, have a dialogue, have a conversation, be open about it, and you'll be amazed. I think you'll absolutely be amazed. And with that, Pete, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. How long have you been with the City of Sun Prairie?
I started last November.
It was November.
Yep.
This past November.
November of 2021.
Okay, so I thought it was maybe a year ago.
Yep, just about
Something
a year.
like that.
A little over a
Okay.
year.
So where'd you come from?
I came from City of Kenosha.
No.
25 plus years working there.
Kenosha, don't you know?
Left the position of City Assessor in Kenosha to come for the position here in Sun Prairie.
What attracted you to Sun Prairie?
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a recruitment that occurred,
Okay.
and with recruitment, certain things occur. So, I mean, that was certainly one thing. My son is a freshman or he was a freshman in high school. The school system at where we came from, and the school system here was certainly a consideration for his last 3 years of high school. And just overall, I would say support in terms of what I thought I would get and am getting in Sun Prairie, and support of what can be and was provided in Kenosha was also a big thought of what I looked at.
Okay.
So,
Well, this is the greatest city in Wisconsin to live in.
I can't dispute that after being here since August. When I actually purchased a home, I cannot dispute that.
Well, it's the people that make up the city. We've just got a great group of people that are always willing to help. They're supportive. They're pretty nice, actually. I mean, it's surprising sometimes because I've visited so many cities, but Sun Prairie people just seem like they'd stop and give you the time of day every day.
I was going to say friendly is one word that I would use to describe what I've encountered here in Sun Prairie.
Well, thank you.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, after being here 30, thank you. I like that. I like that a lot. So what was it that attracted you to public assessing? Or are you an accountant by trade?
I am not.
Okay. Realtor?
No, never got my realty license.
Okay.
Went to UW Milwaukee and got a degree in real estate from the School of Business.
Okay.
At that time, I was probably looking more at development and where a lot of kids with wide eyes look where the money is. However, I mean, both of you might be able to see from looking at me and envision when I came out was right around the time when interest rates dropped from double digit down to 6, 7, 8%, and oh my gosh, people were refinancing, which is sort of around where we are now, but the 3%, I say 6, 7, 8, and people are like, why were they refinancing at that? But anyways, there was a ton of refinancing going on, and there was a lot of recruitment for fee appraisers in the private sector.
Okay.
Took a little bit of something to get licensed, but at that point, without having started a family, the paychecks were incredible. I mean, as much as you wanted to work was how many appraisals you could do in a week.
Wow.
And I got with a firm, and in essence, while the refinancing was going on, it just was incredible. It was better than development because you could set your own hours. You
Sure.
could, however, much as the interest rates rose a little bit and everyone refinanced, that dried up. And knowing that I wanted to start a family, I would look for the stability of what the similar type of work and municipal assessing would give you. So at that point, I hooked up with a contract firm to do some revals in the community I grew up with and a couple other communities in Milwaukee. Liked it a lot, and luckily at the time, Kenosha was an experiment to try and do county assessing. Did not work. The funding at Madison got pulled, and they needed to go to a city assessing department.
Okay.
At which point I applied and got that position, and for 25 plus years started as appraiser, went to deputy, and ended up when I left I was the city assessor there.
Wow.
So you know, I mean, I hope for my kids they have a similar success story in terms of their degree actually pertains to what they're doing. They love what they do. It works out that way, but I just, right, in today's day and age, I'm just not sure that that's really how things work. Do you know what I mean? From what I've read, do you know what I mean, within the first 3 years, you're going on your 5th job, basically.
Right. Well, I went to college to be a doctor.
Okay.
And I forgot. I forgot about it. But you actually have to have grades.
Sure.
You know, that don't have a C or a D.
Uh-oh.
No. Yeah, it was interesting. But well, nice background. I think it's exciting that you have that comparison. Kenosha's a nice area. Racine, right? Not Racine.
Racine. I thought it was Racine.
Racine if you're from there, Racine if you're probably not. So.
It's Racine. You just showed you're not from there. Neither am I.
I love the zoo.
And I can imagine what the first thing about Racine is that you know.
The zoo.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say Kringle.
Well, that's the same.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I like the zoo. We went down a while back. I think it was right before COVID. We had a fundraiser that was there. A buddy of mine, Scott Homerson, where the land sits was his family's property, and his dad was the bank president there, and they actually owned the bank, which I think is funny. You own a bank. Yes, I own a bank. Okay, good.
Wow.
Thank you. I own a bank too, but it's got pennies in it, and it looks like a pig.
Yes.
Piggy
Breakable.
bank. Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true. Talk about the importance of assessment and what it's all about. Why do we have assessments in the city?
Sure. Well, taxes exist, and they will continue to exist.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately.
And you know, I don't like taxes either. I'm a penny pincher. I like to try and see how I can keep taxes at the lowest level. And I go into my job with that. So I'm trying to make sure that everyone's treated fairly. But because taxes are out there, they're just a way of life in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin uses the property tax as a major source of funding. My job, as I see it, is to make sure that everybody at least pays their fair share. I cannot reduce someone's taxes, but I can make sure that someone's paying their fair share. And the way that that's done in Wisconsin is it is based on value. Right or wrong, that's how it's been pretty much from the time we were a state, is that if you have, you pay more. If you don't have, you don't pay more.
Sure.
And it holds true in real estate. So our job as assessors is to look at houses and determine what the fair market value is as a given time. And the reason we do that is so that when that big bill comes at the end of the year, you're paying your fair share. You can call up, you can complain, I've heard it over the years, and I will listen to you because I commiserate. Do you know what I mean? It is high, and I know where funding goes. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, there's only certain things I can do with taxes. There's a lot I can do in terms of looking at the description of your house. Has it been valued correctly? Anything unique you want to present to me? Because we are basically looking at, in Sun Prairie, I believe it's about 10,000 residential houses. You know, we're not able to look at each one individually. We have a data set, we have a description of each property, but when someone calls, we're going to verify that, and it may or may not be accurate. So my job, as I see it, is to make sure everyone pays their fair and equitable share.
So people get confused with assessment and market value. And we talk about it all the time. And we tell people, assessment is not the market value. It's not what your home is worth. But we still, every single day, someone will say, well, I looked at my assessment. And I've gone out to sell a home. Well, I checked my assessment, and I'm very comfortable with the price. I said, well, you're going to be about $50,000 shy. What are you talking about?
Right.
And talk about that a little bit, because it's not always it's not the market value. Or to piggyback on with this, because there's one of the questions is, well, if I buy my house, my assessment's going to be equal to that, my purchase price. And I'm like, no, it's not. Talk about that a little bit.
So the statutes actually do use the term fair market value, which adds to the confusion.
Right.
But it's in the statutes to establish a standard that what we're looking for is what a willing buyer and a willing seller will transact in an open market transaction. Typically those are through a realtor or things like that, but they can be a for sale by owner. However, if you really think about it, assessments are never at fair market value. Even in a year where we'll have what's called a maintenance year, so we don't revalue everything. Sun Prairie typically does not send their notices out until May, June. In a reval it will be later. Other communities in a maintenance year will send them out in April or May. But if you think about it, even if you've done a revaluation, you're 4 months, 5 months from the point, because it's January 1 that we look at, where you've established market value. Now, in the typical, which again, I don't know what a typical market is given what's happened over the last 15 years, but in a typical market where you see the 3 to 5% appreciation, that 4 or 5 month period may not make a huge difference.
Right.
But what's been occurring, what occurred, obviously in the, the 07s, 08s, and what occurred just in the past year or two, appreciation of 10%, you're looking at 1-2% after a month or two.
Sure.
So we're never really, in terms of assessments, at market value. We're always looking at what is the value as of January 1st, and really that January 1st of the last time the city has been revalued. So in the case of Sun Prairie, which has not done a revaluation since January 1 of 2020, that's what the number represents.
2020.
Correct.
Well, so is it every 2 years, or is there a consistency with how often that happens?
Sun Prairie's been doing them every 2 and 3 years. I'm going to probably try and stay on that same cycle. State mandates that when you drop below, I forget what the percentage is. I think it's 90%. You have 6 years, 5 years to get within what they call compliance. Sun Prairie will never get to that point. Most communities do not. They contract to, or get somebody to get their values to market value before that happens. But yes, typically Sun Prairie's been doing them every 2 or 3 years, and we will be having one for January 1st, 2023.
Backing up a little bit, is your department and your staff, are all of you new? The reason I'm asking is, didn't we had an assessor, she left, and wasn't there a system that was being used to do the calculations, or an automated system or something like that?
Well, there is an automated system. It's called CAM, a Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal. It was used before. We currently use it. And again, the reason being is we can't do individual appraisals.
Sure.
But I think what you're referencing is after the assessor that they had in-house left, Sun Prairie made the decision to contract out certain parts of the assessment process. The commercial was done that way. A third of the city residentially. The management was done that way. For various reasons, they didn't like the way that decision was going, and made the decision to basically go completely in-house. So to go back to your original question, I'm 1 year with the city, 1 year plus. I was able to actually attract one of my staff members from Kenosha just about a year ago now, and he has come over and he's working for the city. And we actually had another individual leave that had been working for Sun Prairie for a couple years. I was able to actually recruit somebody from the city of Wauwatosa. That individual is probably about 9 months into the position.
Okay.
And luckily we do have an individual with the staff that's been here nearly 10 years, I think right around 10 years, to give us some good historical perspective, to basically let us know, what's happened in the past. To be able to lean on, in addition to basically her professional expertise just in assessing also. So 3 of the 4 of us are extremely new, yes.
Well, I have to say, even as a realtor, when I'm trying to set value on a home to sell, or even one to help somebody buy it in the last 2 years, oh my God. And we talked about it with the competitive bidding that was going on, even in your situation, even in my situation, when Terry and I, we've been in the house a little over a year and a half now, I want to say, and it's been a challenge to figure out what the actual price of a property is, or what it should sell for. And I'll be honest, I mean, I was all over the board, but so are most realtors. I can't imagine what you had to go through. And then the appraisers, and on top of that, and Bob Call and John Hamp and those guys. I mean, those are two classy dudes that are out there that are quality, that know what's going on. And it was a challenge. I thought 2008 was tough. No.
I think from Sun Prairie's standpoint, because the last reval was 2020,
Yeah.
a lot of the ups and downs that have occurred in the market in the last 2 or 3 years, we haven't had to tackle, because again, we're going back to that basis as of January of 2020. With doing the reval for January of 2023, we are going to have to make some decisions in terms of what is the market. I think you brought it up before we were talking about, and in fact you brought it up right here during the show. We have a lot of product out there that's on the high end, and it certainly skews things, because that's not Sun Prairie as a whole. That is, that's just one aspect. It's a lot of new construction that's out there. Some of it which isn't even, isn't even complete. So we have to look at that. We have to look at what really is occurring. Is what occurred last August and last July the market? Is the market going to be sort of that typical 3%? Are we, in here in Dane County and in Sun Prairie, are we just different, even with the interest rates being higher and with the economy the way it is? But because of supply and demand, we may still see 5 to 10% appreciation given what's occurring and given the demand that's out there. So, with all of that though, I'll go back to one of my original statements. Whatever our decision is, as long as we're equitable in terms of how we establish it citywide and make sure that everyone's treated the same way, our job is done. Because our job is to make sure that the taxes get distributed fairly and equally.
Sure.
So if we make a decision, and maybe we're off by a percentage point high or low, or make a decision to try to do something, as long as we treat everyone in the city the same way, it really should not matter. We're going to certainly try and hit the market, there's no doubt about it, but again, quote unquote, what is that market?
Exactly. What were you going to say?
What is the data based on? So you're talking about projections, trying to figure out what appreciation is going to look like, but is it as of January 1st based on sales data?
Correct. So in essence, we're going to establish a value for everyone in the city as of January 1, 2023. And the data that we will use is going to literally probably be the 2022 sales database that's out there, which, as you know, it had a huge bump in the middle. And again, I don't think that we're going to look at that, but then is it fair to say, well, let's look at November and December data, which all of a sudden that bell curve takes the big dip down. I also don't think that's the market, because traditionally during the winter months, during Christmas season, you always do see a little bit of a lull. I think it was enhanced by what happened in the summer, but at the same time, it's always been out there traditionally in the real estate market. People just don't like to move in the snow, they don't like the cold weather. There's just a lot going on at the holiday season, so I don't think it's fair to do that. So I think we're going to blend, both of those. And we don't really have to anticipate what's going to happen. We are looking at the past. The question becomes is, do we time adjust any of those sales? And my initial thought right now is we likely do not adjust those. We're going to probably just look at the raw sale prices to come up with what we're looking at for assessed value.
Yeah, because the sales prices have been higher because of the supply and demand issue we have. So I wouldn't say that in November and December houses were worth less necessarily.
No. Less than the number sold. I think we had 15 sales, if I remember.
There just might not be enough to base the information on.
Right. And we're early in our analysis of, for the reval, we haven't really looked at numbers. I talked to Bill a little bit before. I did see, and I pulled off the Realtors website from November, and this is all of Dane County, so again, could be skewed a little bit, but from all of November, average sale price was $378. In December, it actually dropped to $362. So again, I don't know that that's a good indication of what's happening here, but it was something I looked at to say that's a pretty good dip down from what we're seeing. And I don't know. We'll see what happens, but
and and like you said, they are. You look at the numbers. and I'm sure I have December's numbers. We're going to be over 400, I know, but just looking at the average for the entire year at 403, and in January popping out at 470. People are buying houses that I think that they normally wouldn't buy. They're buying a little bit more house only because they have to, if they want a house. If not, they're going into an apartment. We know that for a fact.
Meaning they're offering higher than they would normally?
Or they're in a higher
price range?
A higher price range than they would want to be in. But again, we looked at the numbers for of that new construction of that 20, 21, 22 years, and those were strong. Mm-hmm. And again, that messes up the numbers. It's like what they were talking about this Monday night, saying that a property that's located, a single-family home that has a multi-family apartment building put next to it doesn't decrease in value. And I'm like, well, it does. And Scott Kugler and I are going back and forth, well, it doesn't. We can prove it. I said, the question you're not asking is, what would the price have been if there weren't a multifamily there? So I can't use that. Yeah, it's those things outside of what's going on. Look at our industry. If we hadn't had a price, an interest rate increase, oh my gosh, it would still be crazy. It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
15, 20 offers per property. But you've got a challenge, my friend. I'm glad I'm not you. Oh, I am you.
Well, the challenge for us, again, is we're going to, whatever we decide to do, be equitable with the assessments we create. But when we send out 10,000 notices and those assessments are going out at 20, 25, 30% increases, people have sticker shock. Well, there's the sticker shock right there. Right. The issue we have is explaining where that came from. And if we basically make the decision that the July and August and September sales of last year are valid to use and we're going to use them across the board uniformly, we explain that. You know what I mean? They may not agree, but again, that's the uniform basis that we chose. If we take a look and say maybe there needs to be even a slight negative adjustment because of rates in the economy, I don't know that we will do that, but then that's uniform, and we explain it that way, that we've actually taken a negative time adjustment, which, from what you said, Bill, doesn't make sense to me because we still, at least in this area here, are really not seeing prices decrease. At least that's what I've heard and seen. Dane County might be a little different story, and I think the city of Madison really skews those numbers also. And I think that's a little bit different story of what's happening in the city of Madison.
Oh my gosh, I mean, it's on Dane County.
What do you say to the people who say that you're given a number to arrive at, basically, and then you kind of make the numbers fit from there? I've heard people say this. It's all about money and what the city wants, and then it trickles down to you.
So let me give my really basic example that I use for people in terms of how a reval actually may not matter and how a reval can be beneficial. The three of us each live in a community and we each have a house, and it's pretty similar. And for various reasons, I send our notices out, and Bill's assessment went up 20%. And your assessment went up 30%.
What?
And my assessment went up 40%. And Bill is just adamant. He is like, what is Pete doing? 20% increase. My taxes are going to go through the roof. What we always tell people is when the reval occurs, and this example is really easy, it was a 30% average increase. 20, 30, and 40. Let's average those out at 30. I talk to Bill and I say, look, Bill, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen with taxes, but the average increase in the city was 30%. You went up 20. And again,
I should be happy with that.
Well, here's what we tell people. From a tax standpoint, Bill, yes, you may be happy because the reval actually showed that even though you had a strong increase, it wasn't as strong as the city. You likely will probably see your taxes go down a little bit. Big picture-wise, that actually isn't a great thing. Your house is not appreciating as much as our houses were over the past few years. But again, I'll have a story for you back in like 08 and 09, how many rec rooms we found because people wanted their houses to go up in value. But anyways, but Bill, I would tell, 30%. I would get a call, and oh my gosh, 30%. And I would say, you know what? If the city's spending stays about where it was last year, and there's no big projects, and the school district doesn't do anything crazy, you can expect just about what happens year over year, which is a little bit of an increase in taxes because you're right at the average of the city.
Yeah.
However, here, as the city assessor, I take it on the chin, mine's 40. You know what, big picture-wise,
Sure.
and what I always start with is, look, yes, there is no doubt you're probably seeing an increase in taxes. But you know what? It also shows me that over the last, in this case, 3 years, you're in an area, you're in a style of house, something about your property is getting enhanced more than the other two that are out there.
Sure.
So from a big picture, when you sell, which is really, I mean, much more important than year-over-year taxes, even though they're very high,
Right.
you basically now have created more value.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, a reval in and of itself doesn't increase how much the city can spend. The city creates its budget, it knows about how much it's going to go up, and when the assessment goes out, it really, we always tell people, about a third are going to be happy even though they don't know it, a third are probably not going to change even though they don't know it, and a third are going to see higher taxes and they're going to probably know it.
But we don't know that usually until the end of the year, right? Like November, December?
You won't know the exact amount for taxes, correct? But I will be able to give people that call, and maybe even, you know, in scenarios like this or the paper, give that average number. And again, having that average number is a pretty good guide of what you can expect that will occur at the end of the year.
Well, like I said, we had a conversation, and I can't remember if it was you, Pete, or not. I think so. You sound like the guy. But it was a pleasant conversation. We're talking about it, and have you done any work? What's going on? Condition of the property, and all this. And it might have been you, because they said you're that radio guy, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do the real estate show.
Do you know when it was? Because I
I think it was like,
Right after you bought the home, or when?
No. This was a year after, so it's probably like September, October, maybe of 2022.
Oh, well, then it certainly probably was me. Yes.
But it was funny. We had a good conversation. We're laughing. I got off the phone. I kept thinking, "Wow, I just had a great conversation with the assessor." I think I came in and talked about it because the value went up. I can't believe I could look at it and tell you what it is. I want to say it was like 18% or something like that, or 19%. And I remember the conversation was, well, and how do you feel about that? And I'm like, well, I don't like any increases. I don't want to pay more taxes, but I'm good with that value. I think it's a fair number.
So I think this is a good time to also talk about the two types of year. We've nicely talked about the reval, which is, you know, I want people to be aware. So
that's why we're here.
Yeah. But we also have what's called maintenance years. And what that means is, in essence, we're not going to increase everyone's value, and probably about 5% of the properties will, though, however, see a notice. And the reason for that is they complete their house, they put in a finished basement, maybe they took down a shed. I mean, pluses and minuses that occur to houses, that can occur in maintenance years. And those, almost to a T, are going to see increases in taxes.
Well, sure.
Because everyone else is staying constant, that property is going up in value, so that average increase is going to be very, very slim when yours, in Bill's case, was, if that was a maintenance year, was 18%. So there would be a tax increase with that, but again, I don't know, could have been new construction, so the prior year it was partial. It could have been, when we looked at the sales data on that house, we saw that it had a finished basement. We saw it should have had 3 bedrooms rather than 2. We saw that the kitchen was redone. I mean, I don't know exactly, but
A great guy owned it. A great guy owned it.
Is it still that thing that after you close on a new property, you get a call from the assessor, and then you have the choice as to whether or not they come in and update, or if you answer questions over the phone? Is that
so? Technology today is really, really good. Do I mean the website, we have access obviously to not everything realtors see, but we see a lot of the pictures, we see the description. If we feel nearly 100% like we're in that house, or we know what that house is from what's on realtor.com or what's on, I forget what the MLS here is called, Paragon, I think it is.
Paragon.
Yes. We may not send a letter out. I mean, we feel pretty comfortable what's there. We make the changes. But if we have any kind of doubt or uncertainty or want to give the owner a chance to sort of let us through or let us know what's there, yes, after sales like that, we will send a letter requesting entry or at least a phone call or pictures or something like that.
And what
Yes.
happens if they ignore you?
State statute says use the best possible information. You know, I'm not going to lie, there are assessors out there that will be somewhat punitive. Do you know what I mean? They'll basically say, well, we're just going to automatically do this. I've never been a proponent of that. What I tell people is that if we don't get through, I'm going to basically look at your house and you know, there's a high, there's a low, and there's an average. You're going to be closer to the high. I mean, if houses in your neighborhood tend to be average to good, you're probably going to be good.
Right.
If houses in your neighborhood have some finished basement living area, you're probably going to have some finished basement living area. If you don't, let us know. I mean, I'm not being punitive.
Yeah.
Again, my job here is that for people that basically let us through, I think it's fair for us, and I think it's fair for the public in general, that we try and do the same thing with all properties. So if I wouldn't add finished basement, if I wouldn't add a bedroom, we're all paying more taxes because that person basically has stuff that
Right.
we didn't pick up.
Yeah.
So that's where that nastiness of the assessor comes in, that it will never go away, because yes, we are trying to basically describe properties as accurately as possible. The reason being, though, is so that everybody pays their fair share.
You know, I did, because, well, like a lot of us, we did a lot of indoor stuff a couple of years ago, you know.
During COVID, a
Yeah,
lot
wow,
of people made
COVID.
improvements, yeah.
So remember when I was going through all the assessments? I went through like 1,800 properties. Why? Because I'm sick and wrong and I had nothing else to do. And so what I wanted to do was to see what the difference in assessed value, how much they went up. And it blew my mind, because you could go down a street and it'd be like, it might be, I'm throwing numbers out here, I was looking at it, I can't find that file for some reason. I mean, it was fun to do, but it was exhausting at the same time. But then again, all you can do is watch TV and have food delivered, I guess, but from Buck and Honey's, of course.
Of course.
But it'd be like 18, 18, 20, 18, 18, 35. Or where I lived in Crown Point in the condos, our assessments went up 2%. And all these old people, it's 55 plus, by the way. I was the youngest guy living there. But everybody, you know, oh my God, our taxes went up so much. I said, you have no clue. I sent out a letter to everybody in the development. I said, our taxes assessment went up 2%.
Yeah.
Be happy and keep your mouth quiet.
Yeah.
But so that was the area where things jumped out. You know, you could see that difference. I had a couple of people where it was a 40 or 50% increase, and they
That's
reached out to me,
huge.
and I said, well, here's your process. You can go in and you can discuss this with the assessor. You have a process to do. And so talk about that a
Yeah,
little
when
bit.
can people do that?
And how?
At any point. The first step of the process, I think, would be a description. We have every house described, but we may have been in it last month. We may have been in it 15 years ago. I don't know the last time is that Sun Prairie has done full interior inspections, and I'm not sure
Wow.
that we'll ever be able to achieve it again.
More than 20. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Because of privacy, because of how people worked, just a lot of things, I just don't know. I mean, because of staffing, I just don't think we're ever going to be able to be able to get into homes. So we're going to have to maintain the database we have. So the first step would be, let's talk about your property.
Yeah.
Here's what we've got described. Do you have this many bedrooms? Do you have this many baths? And typically, we don't like to ask people, is your kitchen in good condition? You know, what's good to me is average to someone else. Do you know what I mean? I always use the example of that meticulously maintained house that has the shag carpeting.
Oh, green or
Right.
gold?
Do you know what I mean? That to
Orange.
the homeowner is good. And it is. Do you know what I mean? However, do you know what I mean?
It's
To
all
a realtor,
perception, yeah.
that verges on fair even, because you look at it and unless you want to go retro, right. It's meticulous. It's
Mid-century modern.
Right. So we asked more, I guess, specific questions. when's the last time something's been updated? What kind of countertops are in the kitchen? What kind of cabinetry is in the kitchen? In the bath, again, countertops. So we get an idea of when the last time something's been updated. In your basement, the finish that's down there, do you actually have, wall-to-wall carpeting, or is it just a carpet thrown down?
Sure.
Can you see your ceiling, or is it ceiling tiles or drywall? So after we do that, it might be a description thing. It might be that we had certain elements that either are no longer there. It also could be the opposite, that when we start talking with someone, we say, I'm starting to look at this record and I'm actually seeing a lot more that we probably should add to this that's not on there. That's the first step.
Yeah.
The second step is, in essence, really getting to value. A house right across the street sold for me for $350 and I'm at $365. Well, first of all, you're probably not an exact replica, and second of all, it's one sale. Right, the house two blocks down sold for $380.
Sure.
So we sort of get into that a little bit also, that, by all means, if this, if it's a condo, it's a little different story because of the homogeneity of condos. But if it's, a single family house, we can't just use one sale. Let's take a look, and if something's not right and we have 3 or 4 comps within a couple block area and they all show that you are correct, hey, we'll do something. There's no doubt about it. But given how we actually model and take a look at things, the value end usually we're pretty accurate with. It's the description end that, that's where changes can be made and we can look at things.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what happens if you find that people have made several improvements that should have required a permit,
right,
and they didn't? How do you handle that?
So I'm not, being here a year, I'm not sure what official policy is in terms of us having to report to building inspection and things like that. I know in Kenosha, I established that unless it was a life safety issue or something on that matter, we were the assessor's office, that was building inspection. And one of the reasons I have taken that position is we're not authorities on when something needs a plumbing permit. We're not authorities on when electrical needs to be pulled. So when I go in, how can I tell that they really needed to take a permit for certain things? Now, certain things probably are pretty obvious, but others are not.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons we don't. So I guess that's one aspect in terms of when we report, when we don't. I don't know. That wasn't the gist of your question, though. What were you actually looking for?
She wants to know the procedure. If you don't agree with the value, what are the steps that someone would follow, and can they, what are the steps to follow?
Okay.
And if they don't get anywhere with you.
Right. So let's
then what
start
do they do?
with what will occur this year with the reval.
Okay.
We'll have what's called an open book period after we send out notices. I anticipate it'd probably be 3 to 5 weeks. So it's a goodly amount of time. And that open book period will allow people to certainly call and discuss that description and talk about in general how we came up with values if they'd like to know that. If our call volume is not too heavy, we also probably will schedule some appointments and or have people send in pictures and we can make changes on the fly and get them a new assessment right away. If we do all of that, or if we basically talk and the description looks accurate, the sales are accurate, there's nothing unusual, people have a formal appeal process. So what we would suggest at that point is there's a form, you need to have it to us by such and such a date and time. Tell us why. Tell the board. It's called the board review. Tell them why. They're going to want to basically know what you're coming in for. And we've already laid our cards on the table.
Sure.
So in essence, they're coming in and it is a semi-formal process where they present their side, we present our side, and a group of citizens called the board review make a decision what makes the most sense.
I've had people go to the board of review. I've helped provide some of the data, and they were successful. I've also had people present information and they weren't successful. The key that I think we need to take away from this is it's not personal. It's very formatted and organized, but you have the steps in place where if you don't agree with the assessment, that you can follow to talk to somebody. But what I want people to remember, be polite, be courteous and be professional.
Be respectful.
Be respectful. That's the most important thing, because your role, like I said, most people will walk on the other side of the street from you, and I made sure I parked my car way away from you, by the way. I think I'm in Lodi, I'm not sure, but taking the bus to, well, you can drive me to Buckinghams for lunch, but.
Okay.
But you're doing your job, you're doing your role. The thing people need to keep in mind is the assessments may go up, but your taxes may not.
True.
It may be flat. Now, Paul likes 3%. Mayor Paul he's got this 3% thing, and he kind of threw a curve this year when he went 4%. People were like, is he okay? Why do you go 4%? Why not 3%? But anyway.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is that the assessment increases and a reval in and of itself is not, I'll call it a ploy for any municipality to increase how much taxes they get. I mean,
that's what a lot of people assume.
Right. Communities are under strict guidelines in terms of how much increases can occur. I mean, a lot of it is based on net new construction. With Sun Prairie having a lot of it,
right,
does get a little bit more allotment or a little bit more leeway in terms of what to do. But a reval does not automatically say, okay, I mean, because there's that other component called the tax rate, which in essence in a reval always decreases to some level, which offsets that. Right. So, right, we're not out here to basically just collect more money.
So if people miss the open book period, then too bad. You have to wait until the next open book?
So if they miss the open book, there's that hard and fast deadline. It's basically 48 hours before the board of review has their first meeting. That's the hard and fast deadline that people must have all of their information and their appeal form to the clerk's office. So people don't have to participate in the open book. We encourage them to, because we may even be able to take a look and I'll say clean up their assessment and get them a new assessment, and they don't have to go through that. And there may be an issue with the description. Mm-hmm. Rather than deal with that at the board review, let's deal with it before. However, if they choose not to or they miss that period, the hard and fast deadline is going to be 2 days basically before the board review meets. And I don't have that date yet.
And the open book is how often?
Open book occurs every year. In reval years, we open it to probably that 4 or 5 week period to allow enough time. During maintenance years, the open book tends to be a week or two only.
Okay.
And that's enough time to do 16, 17,000 homes? We're not doing all those homes, though.
No, keep in mind in a maintenance year where that open book is fairly small would be where we're only sending out 2 to 5% of the notices to people. So, and those people, we've already, if we've done our public relations, explained to them when we're out there,
sure,
what's going to happen. You're going to get an increased assessment. Here's the reason why. It's probably going to be in this ballpark. People know they're not going to call us. They expected it.
Yeah.
We've got about 2 minutes left in the show. I think it's one of the fastest moving shows we've done in a while.
I think so.
And I want to say thank you for being here. I love the information that we do and that you've provided. I think it's fantastic. What am I forgetting? What is it you want people to go away from the show knowing?
I think the big thing for us is I don't like taxes. No one likes taxes. But in Wisconsin, property taxes are going to continue to exist. And if they continue to exist, which they do, there needs to be someone like myself and my staff that makes sure that they're equitably handled. And that is what we're going to do. So in order to do that, we're trying to get accurate descriptions on properties, and we're trying to use arm's length valid sales on properties. So again, I can't force people to do anything, but there can be advantages, there can be disadvantages when we send that letter for you to call. Our staff will not be punitive, but if we don't get a call or pictures from you, it will be on the higher end of that neighborhood or that style.
It's always been like that, yeah. That's not anything unusual.
Here's what I want you to know, that in the 8 years we've been doing this, your predecessor was invited and said no. And so I think it shows your credibility and how you're here. You're doing your job, but you're here to help people too, help explain the process. and what's going on. And
Right.
so thank you for doing that. Thank your staff also. Like I said, I had a pleasant conversation. And of course, we got to thank Jake for setting us
Sure.
up. It was his idea, and I loved it. He was ahead of me, which that's really cool. But thanks for being here.
No problem.
And
I
thanks for doing
thank you for the invite, and if you'll have me again as we get closer where I have actual numbers to the
Anytime.
actual reval,
Oh, that'd be
I'd
great.
welcome coming back.
Anytime. In fact, you can reach out to me and say, hey, it's time. Let's
Sounds
just
good.
do it.
Thanks.
Well, thanks again. Hey, Sun Prairie, I hope that has been a big help for you. Today was all about letting you learn more about the process, learn from the person that's actually doing your actual assessments, and understand that it's an equitable arrangement here. This is what is good for our city. It has to be for our city, but it's done in a very, what's the word I want to use? Friendly
and fair.
friendly and fair way of doing it, and I feel comfortable with it. I'll share that with you, because you know me, guys. If I don't think it's fair, I'll let you know. Well, I will. And
For
so, if you have questions about this, you can reach out to the city assessor's office. Go onto the city site and click on the link, and you'll see a phone number right there or an email that you can send, and they'll respond back to you. So. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you back here on the radio next Wednesday. Bye, Sun Prairie.
Bye, Sun Prairie.
Facebook is still on. Just to let you know.
Maybe you say something naughty?
Yeah. I might say something naughty. It wouldn't be the first time.
Nope.
All right, let's get this off Facebook. Nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job. And welcome to Sun Prairie.
Thank you.
A year later, right? Has it been a whole year, did you say?